Dr. Simbi Animashaun met with Beyond Stillness 7 times to articulate and publicly share this story of wisdom, purpose, connection, and hope. To learn more about our programs, services, or to sponsor a guest on their story crafting journey, visit www.beyondstillness.org. Today, we welcome guest Dr. Simbi Animashaun, who shares her story that begins with a pounding headache during a night class at grad school and unfolds through the heartbreak of a miscarriage and the isolation of stroke recovery. Dr. Simbi takes us through the darkness she faced and the moment she chose life. Join us as she reflects on rediscovering her strength, reclaiming her purpose, and embracing her second chance with clarity and conviction. Thank you for joining us for Part 1, Dr. Simbi's Story.
Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke is made possible by our guests and tax-deductible donations from friends and listeners like you. Join us in empowering stroke survivors with stories of wisdom, purpose, connection, and hope at www.beyondstillness.org.
Hello and welcome to Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke. Stroke offers a powerful, life-changing shift in perspective. Each colorful memory creates a parable for life's greater teachings, a compass for journeys ahead, and inspired wisdom for unique growth. Beyond Stillness offers a moment of pause for storytelling and reflection. Ultimately, we cultivate a welcoming environment that reveres the moment beyond stroke's paralysis. Still moments unite humanity and divinity. I'm your host, Molly Bucola. As we begin today, we take a moment of pause to honor the way that wisdom has emerged through recovery. And we give thanks.
On November 20th, 2014, I experienced a life-threatening yet transformative event that would change the course of my adulthood and force me to rediscover who I was and what I was meant to do. That evening, I was anxiously preparing to present a final group project when I unknowingly suffered a hemorrhage stroke. At the time, I was enrolled in the Educational Leadership Certification Program at Cleveland State University in Ohio. Our cohort consisted of about 25 students, many of us educators by day and aspiring leaders by night. I was just one semester away from completing the program, with dreams of using my hard-earned certification to step into a principalship, something I had long envisioned for myself. Wanting to give my all during the group presentation, I sat with my teammates, quietly listening to the other groups while reviewing my notes. The classroom was cold, the hallways dim, and nearly empty. Our classroom was the only class meeting in the CSU building that night. I sipped my Red Bull, trying to steady my nerves, but as the anticipation grew, so did my anxiety. Then it hit. A wave of dizziness washed over me, followed by an intense, blinding headache. Unlike anything I had ever experienced, my entire head throbbed with unbearable pressure. The voices of my classmates at the front of the room began to fade into the background, and everything around me started to blur. One of my group members looked and asked, "Are you all right, Simbi?" "I think I am. I just got a pounding headache. Do you have any aspirin?" "I have some Tylenol. Do you want one or two?" she responded. "Give me two, please, and thank you," I exclaimed. I stood up to walk to the bathroom and get a drink from the water fountain, hoping a quick break would calm my nerves. But as soon as I rose to my feet, something was wrong. My vision blurred instantly, the hallway in front of me twisting into a haze of colors and shadows. I blinked, thinking it would pass. It didn't. Still, I didn't say anything to my professor or classmates. I didn't want to cause a scene or draw attention to myself. I convinced myself I could push through it. One foot in front of the other, I moved forward, reaching out to the hall for balance, fingers trailing along the cool surface as I struggled to stay upright. My legs felt heavy and unfamiliar, like they no longer belonged to me. Then I felt a firm hand on my shoulder. Startled, I turned slightly. I couldn't see the person beside me, but I recognized the voice. It was one of my classmates. Concern wove through her words as she gently steadied me. Even in the fog of confusion, I felt the weight of her presence. Someone had noticed. Someone saw what I was trying to hide. Simbi, what is going on? Do you want me to call the ambulance? She said. I responded, not yet. Please take my phone and call my boyfriend. He needs to know what is going on first. I'm scared. She grabbed my phone from my purse, searched my call log, and called hubby. When he answered, she tried to talk as calmly as possible to not cause him to panic. His drive from Lorraine to Cleveland was about 30 minutes. We all wanted him to be safe. Hey, this is Simbi's classmate at Cleveland State. She is having some problems right now. Can you come to the school and pick her up? I think she needs to go to the hospital immediately. Her vision is blurred, speech is slurred, and she is complaining about having a bad headache. I am unsure if he flew a plane to Cleveland, but it seemed like my boyfriend was at the school in 10 minutes. At that time, I informed my professor and classmates of my current condition and waited in the waiting area downstairs. When my boyfriend arrived, he swooped me up in his arms like I was a helpless baby. But at that moment, I was not scared anymore. I felt safe in his arms. He drove me to the nearest emergency room, explained my condition to the registration nurse, and I was admitted into a room to be seen by the ER doctor on call. It had to be about 8 or 9 p.m. The young doctor entered the room in his white coat, which was all I could see now. He began asking questions in his low, monotone voice. Is it Simbi? What is going on with you this evening? I tried to answer his questions to the best of my ability, but my words were becoming challenging. I think I was babbling. So my boyfriend intervened and began to describe the headache, speech, vision, inability to walk. And now I could not feel anything on the left side of my body. The doctor ordered a urine and blood analysis. So another nurse entered and handed me a cup. She then used a needle to draw blood from my arm. After she left the room, my boyfriend helped me to the bathroom to collect a urine sample. 10 minutes later, the doctor entered the room. In his low, monotone voice, he said, "You are pregnant." Pregnant? Finding out I was pregnant again brought on a wave of mixed emotions. I was excited, hopeful even, because I had longed to become a mother, especially after the heartbreak of my miscarriage earlier that year. But along with that excitement came confusion. The symptoms I was experiencing did not feel like pregnancy. Something was off. Deep down, I knew it. The ride home felt surreal, like I was floating through a fog. Still, I tried to hold on to hope. The following week, I scheduled my first prenatal appointment. When my boyfriend and I arrived at the clinic, the doctor welcomed us with a bright, familiar smile. But as I struggled to walk into the exam room, I noticed the smile quickly faded into a look of concern. Are you all right? He asked, watching me closely. I shared the symptoms and the events that had occurred the week before. His face grew serious. Simbi, this doesn't sound like pregnancy-related symptoms, he said. His voice calm but weighted with concern. Let's do an ultrasound and check on a baby just to be sure. He stepped out of the room while I was undressed and pulled the hospital blanket over my legs. When he returned, he washed his hands, pulled on a pair of gloves, and began the ultrasound. The silence in the room felt deafening. There was no heartbeat. The words were not spoken right away, but the stillness on the monitor said everything. I had lost another baby. My heart sank. But before I could fully process the grief, the doctor gently redirected my focus. Right now, we need to concentrate on what is going on with your health, he said. He referred me to the Cleveland Clinic for further testing. I was admitted immediately. That night, after undergoing an MRI, I received a diagnosis that would reshape my entire life. I had suffered a hemorrhage stroke caused by an AVM. The scan also revealed something I was not prepared for. I had experienced a previous bleed, likely connected to my first miscarriage. Life was a roller coaster after I received my diagnosis. For the next few months, I had to undergo intensive outpatient physical and occupational therapy. I still could not walk. My entire family lived in Georgia, and I was unable to visit them. They were unable to visit me. I lacked a support system. My boyfriend, who was in the middle of a custody battle with his ex-girlfriend, was the only person there for me. I wanted to give up. Some days I wanted to end my life. What was my purpose? One day, as I was lying in bed, overcome with self-pity, I had an aha. The room was dimly lit, with only a silver of sunlight slipping through the closed blinds, casting faint patterns on the sterile white walls. The hum of distant voices and the beeping of monitors filled the air, a constant reminder of the battle that had been fought. Weakness had settled into my limbs, and exhaustion clung to my body like a heavy blanket. But in that stillness, something stirred within. It was realized that life had been preserved, that survival had been achieved against the odds. Strength had not been lost. It had been merely waiting to be reclaimed. The weight of despair began to shift, replaced by the truth that this trial will be overcome, just as all past adversities had been faced and conquered. The road ahead would be difficult, but in that moment, hope was rekindled and the will to fight was reunited. The next day, I had therapy. Instead of waiting for my boyfriend to take me, I made a decision. I carefully chose my clothes and put them on, each moment slow and deliberate, a quiet defiance against the weakness that still clung to me. My body resisted, stiff and uncooperative, as if protesting the effort. I grabbed my car keys, that familiar weight in my palm, a reminder of who I used to be. Taking a deep breath, I opened the door and lowered myself into the driver's seat. The engine hummed to life, steady and sure, unlike me. I drove in silence, my mind louder than the world outside. I had survived, but survival came with costs no one seemed to understand. My boyfriend watched me with worried eyes. His family spoke in hushed voices, and even my therapist measured progress only in steps taken and weights lifted. They saw my body healing, but none of them saw the war inside my mind. No one knew that every moment felt like a betrayal, a reminder that I wasn't the same. No one understood that I wasn't just recovering, I was grieving. When I arrived at therapy, the fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, sterile and indifferent. I stepped inside, greeted by forced smiles and encouraging words that felt more like expectations. Today, I would be pushed and told to stretch farther, stand longer, and move faster. But no one would ask if I was ready, if I had even begun to accept that I had suffered a stroke. Losing my independence felt like losing myself. The Simbi I had known, the one who moved through life with certainty and strength, had been stripped away, leaving someone I barely recognized. Simple tasks became battles, and every moment of needing help felt like a quiet humiliation. My body was healing, but my spirit felt trapped, caged by the limitations I refused to accept. Then, 2 months later, another shift. I discovered I was pregnant again. For a brief moment, hope flickered. Maybe this was a sign that life could return to some kind of normal. But that hope was short lived. The pregnancy ended in another miscarriage, another loss stacking itself onto the weight I was already carrying. This time, there was no long, drawn out mourning, just a pill, a process, and the quiet release of what could have been. There was no funeral, no outpouring of grief, just a silent acceptance of yet another thing slipping away. But I could not let grief define me. I was determined to reclaim my independence, to step back into my life as if none of this had broken me. I would wake up, get dressed, and go back to work. Teaching my students, that was where I belonged. That was where I felt whole. If I could just get back to that, maybe I could find Simbi again. Maybe I could prove to myself that she had not been lost after all. Graduation day had not felt so sweet. Not from school, but from occupational therapy. The moment the referral for discharge was placed, a rush of excitement surged through me. This was it, the sign that I was ready to move forward, that I had done the work, pushed through the struggle, and earned my way back to life I had been fighting for. The following week, I prepared to return to work. My heart swelled with anticipation, but the reality still weighed heavy on my body. I wasn't 100%. Stairs were still an obstacle. Standing for too long sent aches through my legs, and fatigue lurked beneath the surface. Ready to strike when I least expected it. But none of that mattered. My job had made space for me, offering accommodations and welcoming me back with open arms. They did not see my limitations. They saw me, Simbi. Reclaiming who I was not just about walking back to my classroom or resuming the routines of daily life. It was about rediscovering parts of myself I did not even know existed. My stroke did not just interrupt my life, it redirected it. Months later, I began to uncover gifts that had been buried beneath the chaos of survival. I moved back to Georgia to be close to my family and community, seeking both support and healing. Determined to understand the pattern of loss I had endured, I visited a reproductive specialist. We developed a treatment plan that finally gave me hope, and it worked. By the time the pandemic hit, I was already on my third pregnancy. During those uncertain months, I carried life while the world stood still. Maternity leave came and went, but returning to work in a world still gripped by fear and instability felt impossible. I could not risk getting sick or leaving my newborn behind, so I made the painful decision to resign. Although it was a forced resign, once again, I was forced to release the version of my life I had clung to so tightly. The decision weighed heavily. I found myself at another crossroad. Would I keep carrying everything on my own or finally hand it over to God? In that quiet surrender, something beautiful emerged. I wrote my first book, The Power of Healing, a memoir of loss and victory, in 3 months, and self-published it. Writing became my way of breaking the silence, of shedding the weight of judgment, grief, and isolation. That book was not just a creative expression. It was a declaration. I had survived and my story mattered. From there, everything began to shift. I founded a nonprofit organization, United by Loss, to support women who had experienced pregnancy loss and trauma. Women who, like me, needed a safe place to be seen and heard. As I shared my story, women began to come forward. Some I knew, many I did not. Each story was a mirror. I realized we were not alone. I realized I was not alone. We had just been suffering in silence. That is when I knew I had found my purpose. When things began to flow, when passion returned, when people and opportunities started showing up at just the right time, I knew I was exactly where I needed to be. And through it all, the stroke remained the turning point, not an ending, but a beginning. It cracked open something greater that had grown. In the stroke community, I found others who carried similar scars. We are survivors, yes, but more than that, we are witnesses to the power of transformation, proof that healing is not just possible, it's sacred.
Storytelling empowers us to share our experiences in a way that invites others to reflect on their own. In closing, we offer a reflection question, an opportunity to spark dialogue with yourself, friends, family, or fellow stroke survivors. In a moment, I'll read our community conversation prompt. You can also find it written in the episode description. What moment in recovery reminded you that you are strong? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Join the conversation on Instagram or Facebook at Stories After Stroke.
Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke is made possible by our guests and tax-deductible donations from friends and listeners like you. Join us in empowering stroke survivors with stories of wisdom, purpose, connection, and hope at www.beyondstillness.org. Another way to support is to like, share, or subscribe to our weekly show.
Thank you for listening to Part 1, Dr. Simbi's Story. Stick with us for Part 2, Dr. Simbi's Interview. Each colorful memory creates a parable for life's greater teachings, a compass for journeys ahead, and inspired wisdom for unique growth. Dr. Simbi reminds us that even in our darkest moments, we can find strength to begin again, and that reclaiming purpose often starts with a single brave choice. Remember, as part of the stroke community, you are more than supportive. You are inspirational. If this episode resonated with you, please like, share, subscribe, or leave a review to help others find these powerful stories too. To support more stroke survivors in articulating and sharing their journeys, please consider donating to Beyond Stillness Stories After Stroke. Together, we amplify diverse stories of wisdom, purpose, connection, and hope.